of the highest highs in the world that you could think of, and any of the lowest lows that you can think of. If you have more than one child, it is very easy to believe that you have had poop blowouts or tantrums or children who keep asking you the same question over and over again, even after you've answered them. And so parenting can be very infuriating sometimes and very joyful, just like pure joy, happiness, peaceful, just life-giving, and so everything in between. The way that we would like our parenting to be is what I will focus on tonight. And so I think parenting should be, as Christians, biblical, intentional, and effective. And so biblical, I think it should be in accord with the Bible, which should be like self-explanatory, but according to the word of God. So if it says it in the Bible that we should do it, we should do it. If it says in the Bible that we should not do it, then we should not do it, because that it would then make it non-biblical parenting. So other things that I definitely think go along with biblical is prayer and listening to the Holy Spirit and letting him direct you, because all children are different, and you're going to hear me say that over and over again. Each and every one of my children are different people, and so what works for one may not work for the other. Parenting should be intentional, which means it should be deliberate. It should not be done accidental. Even if your pregnancy was accidental, your parenting should be on purpose, intentional as possible. And parenting should be effective, which means what you do should be successful in getting the desired output from your kids, or the desired result. So if you notice that you are doing something and it is ineffective, stop. Think about it, ask some friends, get some advice, some wisdom, some knowledge, pray on it, and then go back to the Word of God and try something new, try something else. There's no point in doing the same thing over and over again without a different result. And finally, I think all parenting should be fun and fun and fun. As fun as you can make it. I have so much fun with my kids. They are my favorite people in the world to hang out with, even though they do drive me crazy. I absolutely adore them. So why do we talk about the future? Our series is about, it's a parenting class, but it's mostly about what you should be doing in order to get your child from where they are today to where you'd like to see them at 20 years old or 30 years old or 40 years old. So the reason why we should talk about the future is because it predicts success. So there are studies that have been done that say that parents' expectations predict how well a child does in school, how well they do in life. It affects their emotional well-being. And so if you have high expectations of your child, you'll get more from them. You'll get better grades, better productivity. You'll get a happier child, and someone who's able to engage more with society. So that's also number one reason why we want to talk about the future. Another reason is because if you are setting a goal, it always helps you to direct your actions. It helps you to direct your thoughts. It determines your course in life. And setting a goal will give you long-term vision and short-term motivation. So it keeps you focused on where you need to go. And that can really be important when you're talking about parenting little children and toddlers. And why am I telling my child, you're asking, why am I telling my child no? Like, is this important? Can I just say yes? And so if you know why you're doing something, then you will be able to say no in the moment, or stay strong in that moment when you want to give into their tantrum or whatever it is. Another reason is to release stress, because having a plan provides you with resources and more time, and you are more organized, and therefore you have a less stressful life. And when you direct your energy purposefully, then you don't have all this random energy going different places. It makes you have a lot less stress. Another reason is to provide clarity. Again, clarity goes right back to directing your actions, because it gives you that why you are doing something, which just makes everything really clear. When you have a clear vision, taking action is easier. So it definitely helps you keep in mind that if something isn't working, you should try something different. And so you won't keep going around and around and on that wheel. The last reason is to build self-esteem. So number one, it will build your self-esteem, because if you have set a goal and then reach that goal, you feel really great about yourself. But the ultimate reason is because it will build self-esteem in your children. One of the top things that psychologists say is a predictor of future happiness in children is having boundaries, well-established boundaries, and clear guidelines for what they can and cannot do. And so while you get children that rebel against that, for having them in and of themselves make them feel more loved, make them feel more valued, and makes them feel safe. So we all want our children to feel that way. So that's another reason why we should talk about the future with our kids. So we are going to look at, who do you want your child to be in the future? So this is a thing that I did in 2005. I was a senior at Houston Baptist University. I was graduating, or I wasn't graduating yet, but I was majoring in entrepreneurship and Christianity. And in entrepreneurship, they always make you take business classes. And so one of the first things that you do is write out a mission statement for a business that you want to do, that you want to build. Whatever that is, you want to write the mission statement. And the reason that you write the mission statement is to make your vision plain, which is biblical, because you definitely hear that in the Bible: write the vision, make it plain. This is my mission statement. I will read it. It says, I set my heart on training my children to know, love, and trust God, to be happy, healthy, productive members of society. So if anyone has any questions, please ask them. We can do a back and forth question and answer, so I'm not just talking. But I definitely, if you have questions about like how to form a mission statement or what to write, or even any questions at all, please ask them and let me know. I will tell you what each piece of this means to me. I set my heart on training means I want it deeply, like it is a great desire of mine, to train my children, not just raise them or rear them, but to make a plan and then make it actionable and see it through, so that it is training and not just happenstance. And so like that word training means a lot to me. Another part of that is to know God is really important, because I want them to know God for themselves. I don't want them to know about God. I want them to know who He is. And so I want them to talk to God. I want them to read their Bible. I want them to practice the disciplines of faith. I want them to see God answer prayers. To love God is because I want their hearts to be attached to God. And to trust Him is because I want them to know that their future, their lives are in God's hands, not mine. That I can control some things, but not everything. And so it is very important to me that they know to trust God. And this all comes first, because that's what's most important to me before all the other stuff. To be happy, the reason that is there is because I want them to have good relationships with people. And I think that that is really the only way to be happy, is to have healthy relationships with other people, to know and love yourself, and then to know and love other people and spread the love of God. To be healthy in relationships, physically, mentally, emotionally. I want them to be healthy in all areas of their lives and be able to um, help others when they see the unhealthy behaviors out there. And then productive, I just want them to be high yielding and fruitful. I want them to be complex people, like well-rounded individuals who definitely give back more than they take in from society. So it took me maybe a week to go through different renditions of what I wanted my mission statement to be. I wrote this and then I rewrote this and then I rewrote this. And so I took several different pieces of it. But why I like this mission statement is because every time I read it, every time I see it, it takes me back to what it is that I want to do with my children. What is it that I want to see them produce? What it does it mean to be fruitful? Like that's the thing that I think about. What does that mean to be fruitful? And so that is really important to me. Jennifer, do you have a question?
I do. So could you sort of briefly share about what your process creating a mission statement looks like?
Mm-hmm. So I write down a list of what is it that I want. So what I want from my children, which even this question says, who do you want your child to be in the future? Like, I don't have a specific job that I want them to do, or a specific anything. But what I do want is I want them to be happy. I want them to be married. I want them to love God. I want them to be resourceful. And so what does that look like? And then I write under that, what does resourcefulness look like for a 20-year-old or a 25-year-old? What does that look like? Because that's the ultimate goal. The goal is not 10 years old. The goal is adulthood. And so what does resourcefulness look like for an adult? Means you're able to get the information that you need. It means that you can make your own doctor's appointments and your own phone calls. It means that you can keep a house, you can clean, you can do all the chores, you can cook. It means that you have a job, you have income. It means that you are able to provide for yourself and others. And so I write all of that down and then I think, oh, what is the correct word? What's one word that I can find that will sum this up? Resourcefulness is that word. Or productive, because I want them to be productive members of society, because I want all of that to be done in connection with other people, the people around them. And I want them to be, so society is there because I want them to interact with other people in healthy, happy ways. And so I want them to be able to be great employees. I want them to be, if they want to be business owners, to be great business owners. If they have a desire to go in, or a passion to go into art, or any industry, science, whatever that is, I want them to have the tools necessary for them to be successful at that thing. And so I always start with, what is my end goal? And that's my end goal. So then I go back, what does that mean? What does it look like? And then I keep going back, how do I get there? It's just easier for me to start with a goal in mind than it is to start at the beginning and say, I want my 3-year-old to pick their socks up off the floor. So because while yes, it may be important that my 3-year-old pick their socks up off the floor, why is it important? What is the motivation behind that? So if you guys wanted, like, take some time and try to write out just like some things that you think would be important, that would be great. We can have a few minutes to do that, and then you can tell me what is important to you, or a sentence that you can think of. It doesn't have to be your mission statement, because you are allowed to take as much time on your mission statement as you would like.
Can I ask real quick, what age were your kiddos when you wrote your mission statement out?
So my children were unborn.
Okay.
And yeah, I was in college, and I just figured that this would be a really good way to think about my children's lives. When I first like wrote a mission statement for a business, I was like, oh, that should apply to this. So they were unborn. But I think you can do this at any age. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Very cool.
So let me know when you have some ideas and are ready to share. Okay, who is ready to share?
This is not a statement in any way, shape, or
It
form.
doesn't have to be.
Things that came to mind, at least things that I want them to value or to kind of embody, like really just the fruit of the spirit. So like peace, I want them to value patience, goodness. I want them to be compassionate and kind and humble, to be self-controlled, to just be hardworking, but in healthy ways of being hardworking, and faithful, obviously spiritually, but then also just in the things that they have to do in regular life, to be faithful to the menial tasks and then to the great tasks and things like that, to value honesty and to be others minded, and others centered in healthy ways. So kind of like what you're talking about, wanting your kids to be healthy. And then I just stole the first half of yours. So there's that. Oh man.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, Christy, I can see you, so.
Okay. So yeah, I agree to know, love, and trust God. I like that. But I also, the faith, hope, and love kind of went through mine as well. And, you know, just as you were talking about the things that you were thinking, my views have definitely changed now that I have the kids that I do. So I think a desire I always would have had is that, you know, they move out, they go out on their own, they do their thing, they find their place in this world. And I just don't know if that's going to be possible for Jordan at this point in time. So mine was that they each live up to their ultimate potential, whatever that may be, to be as productive as they can be in society. And for Jojo, if he finds somebody, I hope that he does. I think that would be amazing. But if that's not meant for him, then that's totally cool too. I have 2 others to give me grandkids. For each of them to have a desire for personal growth in their own lives, to never think, all right, I've hit my limit, I got my degree, whatever it was, to continually be challenged, just as they learn more about the world around them or meet new people or whatever it may be. And that may be completely different areas in life too for each of them, but just that love of learning, I guess.
Yes.
Empathy, it's not an easy one to teach, but there's just so much to that in life, and treating people with love and respect and compassion, and really having that ability to empathize with people is wonderful. A love of family, of course, because they always have to love me, and oh, and each other. I don't know how you do it, or if you do it, or if it's possible for a parent to, but you know, just the desire for the siblings to just count on each other forever and just be that bond for one another is huge. So that's what I wrote down.
I agree. My mom, she would always say, you're gonna have your sister forever. You're not gonna have me forever, but you're gonna have your sister forever. And I tell my kids the same thing. I'm like, you guys will have each other forever, so you better learn to love each other now. Once I'm gone, that's all you got. It worked well for her, my word.
Good.
Emily, would you like to share?
I don't feel like I have anything new to add to that. I'm encouraged to think about this and write it down.
Awesome.
But yeah, I feel like I have a long way to go in writing anything at all. All I said is that I want my children to live lives honoring to God.
Oh, that's great. Lives honored to God is beautiful. That is a beautiful mission statement. All right, we are going to go to the how do we talk about the future. So we can start with family and friends. And my story is that even from a young age, I would notice that adults would often ask other kids, they would ask them, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? Or do you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend? Or do you like, and they would be little kids from like 5 to like 10 years old that they're asking about, do you like girls? Do you like boys? Do you have a boyfriend? And I always felt like that was first of all, inappropriate and also ridiculous. And I know that the reason that they're asking these questions is because they wanted to get a reaction from the child. And so it's not a question they ask to like children who are actually dating age, but it's a question they ask to children who are not dating age to see if they can make them blush or say something funny. And then I feel like a lot of the adults that I would pay attention to would either be not interested in the kids and just like solely pay attention to the adults, or they really didn't have, like they might be interested in the kids, but they really didn't have any concrete way of interacting with them. And so it would become a physical play or something that the child really may or may not want to engage in. And so for me, that was just really off-putting. And so what I began to do with my family and my friends is give them like prompts, things to talk to my children about. I do think like asking, what do you want to be when you grow up, is a fine question. That's okay. But asking, what are you studying, is you're liable to get a better response from a child. Asking them, have they set any goals, helps them become forward-thinking people. Asking questions like, what are you working towards this year, or what goal, like so in the avenue of working towards, like for your parents, are you saving up for anything? Do you have a financial goal? Like are you saving up for a bike? Are you saving up for a new book or something like that? But that's what I began to do with my family and my friends. And then I got this weird response, which was like, I really like talking to your children. They always have such interesting things to say. And I'm thinking, well, it's because I set you up to ask them these questions that you should just ask children anyway, because it makes them more interesting people. If they are answering interesting questions instead of what's your favorite color or what's your favorite food. You should ask questions with more depth, and children are forward thinkers anyway. So they're always thinking about, or they're dreaming about having a house in the future, or they're dreaming about being married in the future, or they're dreaming about like taking a class or being police officers or being like whatever it is, a dancer or a lawyer. They're always thinking about those things. And so we should press more towards those things as opposed to like little pedantic interactions. And so that's what I began to do with my family and friends, was really just help them, prompt them to speak to my children on higher level, because that's how I talk to my children all the time. I think that you should talk to children like you talk to your husband or your wife, just because they can interact with you. Yes, they may not give you a well-versed answer, but they may surprise you and give you something really meaningful, or ask you a question in return, or they may learn and develop greater vocabulary and more language so that they can have better interpersonal skills, because your children are always paying attention to you. And so if you can be that sounding board for them, it helps build them up. Another reason or another way to talk about the future with your children is through scripture. So there are plenty of scriptures that talk about where God says, you are the apple of my eye, where God says that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. Like teaching your children to have those, to memorize those scriptures or to speak those scriptures into their lives is a way of building up their self-esteem. It's a way of giving them more value. And it is a way that you can help them stay focused on more than just, I didn't get a cookie today. Because at toddler stage, they may really want to focus on, oh, I didn't get a cookie, I really want a cookie. But there's a whole world of things for them to focus on, and bringing in a scripture and showing them, taking a walk in nature to show them like what God has made, what he has done, what is around them, is a really good way to take their mind off of a cookie and put it back on something more positive. You are statements are like my favorite things in the world. Uh, and those are things that you can say to your children. I think that instead of telling children something like that they did something bad, you broke this cup, you are clumsy, you broke this cup. Okay, that may be true. The child may be clumsy, they broke a cup. Uh, but I think it would be much better to say, wow, you are fearfully and wonderfully made, and even though you broke this cup, we can replace it. Or child is acting very bad, tearing up things. I don't know what they're tearing up, but tearing up something. Or they came in, my 3-year-old niece got my daughter's doll head and cut the hair off of it. Uh, and that's one of those moments where it's like, you are not destructive, you are creative. What can you create? Instead of saying, oh, this was so destructive, you destroyed this doll. You can say, you are not destructive, so what's a better way to use your talents? Because you are very talented, you are very creative. What is a better way to use this creativity? So then they are thinking through, what better choices can I make in the future? You can always ask the question, how can you solve this problem? How could you have solved this problem in a different way? That's the question that I asked my 9-year-old and my 10-year-old. Actually, he's 11 now. But I ask them those questions all the time. How could you have done this in a different way? What would have been different if you'd made a different choice? Let's like walk through these steps, because you are smart enough to figure this out. You are brave enough to stand up for a friend. Like, these are some sample you are statements. I really love you are statements. So you should think through some you are statements you could say to your children, something that would be very direct. And while you're thinking, I will tell you, my mom was like the queen of this. So she would always say, you are so good at computer stuff. Can you do this for me? And that made me feel like, oh yeah, I'm so good at this. Let me take care of it for you. But really, she was just like, I don't have a clue what I'm doing. So can you do this for me? And she's like, you are so talented. Can you think of, how can I say that? She was a teacher. How can I say this in a different way? You are so good with words. How can I do this? How can I reword this document or this speech that I have to give, or whatever it was, a report? She had me do her work all the time. And she did it because she praised me. In such a loving and like, it sounds very, instead of it being flattery, it sounds very honest. Like, you do have the ability to do these things. So let's think of the best way that you can do them. So my favorite thing to say to my children were, you are a super smart cookie. That's what I would tell my daughter all the time. If she was having a hard time tying her shoes, or if she was frustrated because she couldn't get something done, I'm like, you are a super smart cookie. You can figure this out. And that was one of my favorite things to say to all of my kids, but mostly to my daughter because she was the oldest. I remember her more. The other kids are kind of a blur.
So you are a little monster, probably doesn't.
No, Christy.
I'll have to reword that one.
So you're also using these statements to redirect behavior.
Yes.
Okay, that's good.
So I use them to redirect behavior and also to try to instill the behavior that I do want to see. So I do want you, to be a good problem solver, and instead of becoming frustrated and throwing things on the ground. So guys, if you're ready, you can share some of your you are statements.
I have one that's better than you are, a little monster. I like, having been a science teacher, I was like, you are a problem solver.
Yes, you are a problem solver.
So you are a problem solver. You can figure this out. That's one of mine.
That is a great one.
But I have to run up and tuck Caitlin in, so I'll be right back.
One that we use a lot with my 3-year-old, who can be quite fearful at times, is just, you are brave. And it's interesting to see. I think just recently, maybe in the past 6 months, I've been realizing how much my words that I say to him actually either encourage him to do something or discourage him from doing it. So, I mean, that's like a duh, but just, it's like, you're brave. You don't need us to do this. And then it's like, oh, okay, I can do this by myself.
That's right. That's what I would tell my middle son. The other two are very much daredevils. So Amari would always be the hesitant one. And I'm like, you are so brave. Oh, yes, I'm a brave boy. You are a warrior. And he really is a champion of justice, my word. I can't hear you. What did you say?
You know, I love champion of justice for Amari. So well describes him. I like to tell Sophia that you're curious because she's a great curiosity, especially when she's asking lots of questions. Which is also a good reminder for me, and that she is a great learner. She always impresses me with all of the words and random knowledge that she has. She is such a little sponge, but when she's having those difficult moments of how do I, you are a great learner, I think is one that I try to encourage her with. And reader, especially when she says, I can't read.
I love you are a leader. That's another one that I love to say. You are a leader. You are a leader and not a follower. You are an excellent leader. I love it. Thank you for sharing. Emily, did you have you are statements?
My little ones are so young, I feel like I'm not here yet, but I like that you are curious because that's the stage I'm at. They're 14 and 15 months.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm trying to think. It's good to think about how I can redirect them in this way. Because, again, they're getting to the point where I'm like, oh my gosh, you're making such a mess. So, yeah, just realizing like how adventurous they are, and having it be a positive spin.
I would say, I would always tell myself, you are inventive. When my kids made giant messes, I'm like, wow, you are so inventive. And then it would help me like reposition my mind.
Right. That's kind of where I'm at, where I'm like, oh, yes, they're just learning.
They are learning. That is so correct. Oh, gosh. So Ephesians 4:29 says, do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouth, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. And I will say, I have seen all of this scripture played out in one incident in a grocery store with my children, who I think all three of them asked me for the same thing in like the span of less than a minute, like literally 30 seconds. And the oldest one asked me for candy, and then the middle one asked me for candy, and then the little one asked me for candy. And the first time they asked, I said, no, you're not getting any candy. And when the third one asked, I was like, did you ask me a question? And they're like, yes, we asked you a question. I was like, did I give you an answer? can't remember. Did I give you an answer? And they're like, yes, you gave us an answer. What was that answer? You said no. Oh, I said no? Wow. So what's mommy's answer? And they're like, no, we can't have candy. I'm like, yeah, that's right. Asked and answered. Can't have candy. And the the clerk was like, that was the best reaction I've ever seen to kids. Oh my gosh, how did you do that? And I was like, I don't know, dude. I just got tired of listening to them talk to me. But I think it's really great because it's just like, it shows you that other people are listening and they are paying attention and they are like noticing what you are doing. And so it helps me keep that in mind, that I didn't care that that other person was looking at me, but like that helps me remember, oh yeah, people do like see what is happening with other people as you go about like your life. And so I think that the scripture is very true where it says that it may benefit those who listen. So it may benefit other parents, other moms, other people. And then of course we have Proverbs 18:21, which says death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit, because our words are powerful. And as Jennifer said, they can build our children up or they can tear them down or demoralize them. And so we should really strive to be people who build up our children. So we're going to move to emotional development. And here I'm not going to cover emotional development, just say like in all children, all throughout life, you are developing emotionally and you have different levels, and that it is really good as a parent to go and look at those stages, because it will help you manage expectations. So you want to know what stages of development your child is in, and then that can help you manage your expectations. And when you're able to manage your expectations, so you're not expecting a 3-year-old to sit at the table and eat all of their food in a neat and orderly fashion, then when you come to the table and look at them, you're not, oh, look at the mess you made. Okay, like I expected you to make a mess. Like seriously, you're 3. So you're learning to use a fork and a knife and a spoon. And so like you're gonna make a mess. And if I, as an adult person, were just learning how to use a fork and a spoon, I would make a mess. So I had to learn how to do those things. You're learning with a very low fine motor skill. And I have a very high fine motor skill, but even as an adult, learning something like that brand new would be difficult for me. So managing expectations is just about like knowing what stage your child is in. And if they, as Christy mentioned, JoJo, if they have like other learning disabilities or things, then you should also know like those stages and what to expect then. That way you're not, again, that helps manage your emotions so that you're able to respond correctly to your child. When children are between the ages of 3 and 5, they are all over the place. One day they can do something perfectly, and the next day they are peeing on your floor. So please know that once you get them out of diapers, they're not potty trained. They are pre-potty trained, meaning they're potty training. They're potty training. They can make it most of the time, but not every time. And so you may still have a 5-year-old have an accident, or you may not, but you may. If you have multiple kids, chances are one of them is going to be a child that is not potty trained by the age of 3 or 2. Sometimes people want to potty train them at 1, but whatever helps you. Just don't expect the moon. That is my only point. The third thing is to validate. I don't think that I can harp on this one enough, because validation is something that all people need. Children need to be validated, adults need to be validated, elderly people need to be validated. If you are a person, you need validation in your life. And validation just looks like you saying, hey, you have a right to your emotions, and I understand you feel that way. That's it. You can use many different sentences to say that, but ultimately it is not telling people or not invalidating them by saying you shouldn't feel that way or don't feel that way, think of this differently, other people don't have what you have, so you should be happy. Those types of things invalidate people's feelings. And so while yes, you may want to teach your children that there are many countries in this world that are third world countries and that they don't have the resources that we have and that they are blessed, when a person or a child is saying, I don't want to eat my food because I don't like it, that argument means absolutely nothing. The correct response is, I hear you and I understand, but you have to eat it anyway. So go ahead and eat it. Thank you. Because our feelings don't invalidate what we have to do. We still have to go to work whether we want to or not. We still have to make our beds whether we want to or not. We still have to brush our teeth whether we want to or not. We still have to tie our shoes whether we want to or not. So you can feel how you want to feel. Please have all the feelings, the emotions, the discourse, whatever it is in the moment, but you still have all these other things that need to be done. So that is what I would say. I think it is very important that we give our children tools to handle their emotion, whether that is vocabulary, so teaching them to say, oh, you feel angry, what you feel right now is anger, and I understand that. Can you say, I am mad or I am angry? And then let them say that to you. I am angry. Why are you angry, Johnny? Because I don't want to put these shoes on. I want to wear my rocket shoes. I don't know. But it's okay. You have now the language to say, I am angry. So the next time that you're angry, you can say, I am angry. Instead of, ah! You can say, I am angry. And you as the parent can say, use your words, which is my favorite phrase. You're having a meltdown, you're bawling. I don't understand. Use your words. Oh, okay, I can listen to you now. That happened a lot as my children were little. So they learn to talk, which is great. Awesome. And I don't have to guess at what you're feeling. I don't have to guess at what's bothering you, and I can validate your emotions, and then I can tell you that it doesn't matter, and then we can move on. I never tell them their emotions don't matter. I just tell them that you still have to do it. Yeah. You can be angry, but it still has to be done. Yeah. Then I would say reinforce is the last part. So positive reinforcement looks like high fives, cheers. I still do this with my 13-year-old. She told me today she moved a broken dresser out so they could pick it up for the trash in the morning, a task that I am paying her money to do. And when she came inside, instead of like just coming in and sitting down because she's getting paid for this task and she has completed it, and I saw it, she came in and she said, Mommy, I moved the dresser. I'm finished. I did a good job. And I was like, great, that is awesome, Aaliyah. You are amazing. Way to go. And then I walked away. Because
I had when I was teaching my 8th graders one day, I don't know what they were doing, just random stuff. And I was like, awesome, you get a gold star. And then others were going like, I didn't give them anything. I didn't hand out a gold star. But I literally had them keeping track of how many gold stars they got in their notebooks.
My God.
That's
It's
my fifth
really
gold star
little
today.
things. Oh my gosh, that's it. It's really little praises, little things.
It's so crazy.
Those
Yeah.
are like little adults in a lot of ways. 'Cause they
Mhm.
Yeah.
like sometimes I feel like my 3-year-old, like, you shouldn't need so much. And then when you said that, I just thought of how maybe a week ago, and I just felt so proud that I did something super hard. And I was jumping, I did it. And I'm like, oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Children in a lot of ways are little adults. And if
They
I
are
did
little
that,
adults.
then how much more my 3-year-old? So
Exactly. And and adults definitely look for validation from their spouses, their friends, and their family all the time. You want someone to understand that you are excited about something, and you want them to congratulate you for a job well done. Like, that is human.
Well, and I think the great thing too is that I know for like Clarence, he's always thinking of like the big reward, the thing that's going to mean something. And I have to tell him, it doesn't have to be anything. I mean, like you said, they can earn a high five, they can
Yep.
earn, you get a goofy smile, or, like whatever it is, it's so small. It does not have to be the new, latest, greatest, whatever. It doesn't have to cost any money.
Right. And those are the very best rewards because they create memories, and that is stored away in your cortex. Now, you can definitely give other types of rewards for reinforcement. You can have your kids work up to earning something big or prize or whatever. If you are into giving children money, you can do that as well. I'm not, but until they get older, I pay them for doing things I don't want to do. That's what I call them, doing the things I do not want to do. And then there are also negative consequences, which, if you've ever heard of Love and Logic, is a series that I highly recommend. That will talk a lot about natural consequences. And what I love about natural consequences is that you don't have to do anything. So if you have told your child to put their shoes on and you are ready to leave the house, you don't have to say it again at all. Go and get them in the car, put them up, and when you're ready to walk and they don't have shoes on their feet will be hurt. And that is a natural consequence. The reason that natural consequences are really important is because when you are young and you are small, those natural consequences are tiny, they're minuscule. They are your feet hurt because you didn't wear the proper shoes, or you got wet because you didn't put on a rain jacket. They are you fell off the chair because you didn't get out of the chair when your mother told you to. Those are natural consequences, and that means, hey, I don't have to punish you. um you already got a punishment, and maybe you will learn from that and not stand in chairs. But when you're older, when you're an adult, not doing the things that are laws, because these are now laws and no longer rules, get you in a lot of trouble. And so those consequences are much heftier than they are as a child. But if you have learned from natural consequences as a child, then you know that your actions have consequences and that you will be held responsible for your actions. And so that is the thing that I think is really important. Reinforcement to me is really about consistency and that teaching children that their actions have consequences, whether they are natural consequences or consequences that I impose on them. They have consequences because in life, when they're adults, that ultimate goal, which they're going to reach with or without you. They're going to become adults, whether you're there or not, whether you discipline them or not. But what type of adult they're going to be will be, influenced by their parents, their parents. And so I want my children to know that when they're 25 and 30, if they break a law, that it has consequences. The way to teach that, natural consequences start. So those are some things that can help you with the emotional development of your children as they're going through that process. And here are some scriptures for us. Proverbs 12:25 says, anxiety weighs down the heart, but a kind word cheers it up. That really speaks truly of our kids. It speaks truly of us, and it speaks truly of all humans. Galatians 6:1 says, brothers and sisters, if someone is caught in a sin, you who live by the Spirit, that's us, should restore that person gently, even if they're a child. But watch yourselves, or you also may be tempted. So remember to always watch your heart, because the heart is very deceitful. And you want to watch your motivations and the reasons of why you are punishing a child, or you are disciplining them or giving them a consequence, because it may just be that you feel slighted, and not really a practical or teaching tool for the child. And so you want to make sure that you're watching your heart and your motivations as you parent. It's definitely something that I face with my teenage child. I often walk away from her if she has said something that I'm like, now I just really want to slap you. If I feel like that, I just walk away, and I'll come back when I feel much better. So we're going to look at what we should be doing in these stages, and these stages are very broad. So the first one is infancy, 0 to 5, and I group them like this because I feel like some of the tools that we use while training our children can be used from the time that they are born until they are about 5 years old, especially when you're talking about like nap time, if you're talking about following instructions, or you're talking about like not giving in, like delaying gratification. Those are things that you can start teaching at a very early age. Even just now, I'm not saying like wait 30 minutes to feed your infant baby. That is not what I am saying. I'm saying that you can. So when my child was a baby, they were newborns and they were hungry and they would cry. I prepared their bottles. I went about all the motions and I prepared their bottle. And then I would distract them with other things for about 5 minutes. I would play with them. I would read to them. I would sing to them. I would give them the little toys and the trinkets and all of that stuff, just so that they would stop like screaming about the bottle and focus on something else. And then I would give them the bottle, because I wanted them to be in a happier state. Now, of course, I did not do that when they were under 6 weeks old. I just fed them. You cry, you get food. Like you come on, let's eat. I don't even know what you're doing. I'm like in a fog of tiredness. But once they were older, like above 6 weeks, then that's when I began implementing delayed gratification, so that it would be something more natural when they were older. And even when they were 2, my daughter learned at a very early age, like I like to have my quiet time between 5 and like 6 o'clock in the morning. And so she couldn't come into my room until 6 a.m. 6. And so I taught her to tell time, just the 6 o'clock, because that's an easy one. It's a big 6. And we had a clock, and I'm like, when this clock says 6, you can come into mommy's room. Well, before she could come into my room, she wanted to eat. So I'm like, well, because she woke up at like 5, but I was having my quiet time and my Bible time and all of that study and I was laying in my bed. I was awake, but I didn't want to talk to her. So I told her, I taught her to go to the refrigerator. And this is a thing we practiced over and over again until she could open the refrigerator by herself, because she had to develop the arm strength to pull it. And there was a cup of milk that I left sitting on the lowest shelf in the refrigerator. And I would leave her a bowl of cereal on the table with a spoon next to it at night. Right before I went to bed, I put it out. And then she would go open the refrigerator, take the cup of milk out, pour it in her bowl, and eat her cereal. That's what she did from ages 2 to 4, 2 to 5, I don't know, until she had like little brothers who could keep her attention until I was ready to come out of my room. But it was really important to me that I had my quiet time in the mornings. And it was really important to her that she had breakfast and something to do. So we met in the middle. I taught her what to do. And when she had learned it, that's when I began expecting her to do it. And she did it every single day. And I was really proud of her. It was a great accomplishment. But it's something that I did because we had already practiced a lot of those reinforcement, redirecting, and demonstrating responsibilities in early childhood, very early childhood, because as I said, I always like to start at the lowest point that I possibly can and just break it down and then build upon that block. So that's what I would say. Infancy 0 to 5 is building habits. I think children can build a ton of habits in those age groups. Not, of course, they're not washing dishes and things like that, but they can pick up their toys. They can learn to use a broom, especially if it's their size. They can put away their shirts or their clothes or their shoes. They can put their shoes on. They can learn how to tie their shoes, like during those ages. And so demonstrating those responsibilities to them is really important, and training them to do it. So making it as simple as possible and then walking them through what it is you'd have them achieve is ultimately like the only way to get there. Like you can't just say it a bunch of times and expect it to get done. Through childhood, through 5 years old, is where I would start to discipline. And by discipline, I really mean, well, my husband and I agreed that we would spank our children for blatant disobedience. But if it's not blatant disobedience, we don't spank them. It would be more like, okay, now you lose a toy, or you are in a timeout, or you don't get to go to an activity that you were supposed to go to. So we would just take things away from them instead of anything else. Or, which I learned from my mother, that long talks are also punishment. I was like, are you still talking? Why? I felt bad. Now I feel awful. And then with correction, I really think that it is, I have found that it is really good to make it clear how a child has made you feel. So even when my children were 3 years old, 2 years old, if they did something that was blatantly disobedient, I would tell them, this makes me sad, and this is why it makes me sad. Or this hurts my feelings, especially if you are, like, my children were never big hitters, but I think that's because I told them from the first time, you hit me, it breaks my heart. It makes me cry. I feel like I'm not a good mom, because why would you hit your mother? And so they've never been big hitters, but that is a thing I would tell them. I want you to have honest feedback. I am not a robot. I am a person. And as a person, you can hurt me just like I can hurt you. And so what we should try to do is not hurt each other, but to help each other and build each other up and love each other. I would begin introducing responsibilities in these ages, giving them chores, giving them things that they are in charge of. My children were always in charge of keeping their rooms clean by the time they were 5. That was just their responsibility. And keeping their rooms clean meant that the floor was clean, that there were no toys out of place, that they were in all of the correct spots, that their clothes were hung up or in a dirty clothes basket. And then from there, we built on those responsibilities. So now I would say,
a real quick question.
Yes.
So the correction / introduce responsibilities,
Mhm.
That is, you're saying between 5 to 10 is when you.
I would say that you would, that most correction happens here, that most like disciplining happens here. Before that, I would really redirect and reinforce rules, and then like remind the children. So specifically what I did when my children were under the age of 5, I had a rule, I had a poster on the wall in their room, and it had the rules written there. Number 1 rule was be obedient. Number 2 rule was be kind. Number 3 rule was clean your area. And I would have my children read those rules to me every day. And yes, when they were 2 and 3, I was reading them and they were repeating. But they could read the rules. They knew the rules. And if they broke a rule, we would go back to the poster and we'd read them again. What's the rules of this family? What's the rules of our house? And so that's what I did in those 0 to 5 years. But once they were over 5, then it was, okay, now you lose something, or I expect more from you because you're an older child and you have a greater capacity for remembering what I said. You know what I said. You know how to follow directions. You know how to follow instructions. I can give you a list of things to do and you can complete those tasks. So, yes, I am holding you responsible for what I have told you to do.
Okay.
What were some of your consequences for like not keeping a room clean or not doing a particular thing?
So I had fun consequences. I like to give my children more things to do. So if they did not keep their rooms clean, then I would stand there and I'd watch them clean their rooms, and then we go clean my room. But by we, I mean they cleaned my room. And because they should have cleaned just their room, it would have been easy. But if they didn't clean their room, they might have to clean their room and then the bathroom, or they'd have to clean their room and then the kitchen, not washing the dishes, but sweeping the floor, picking up stuff. And I would stand there and watch them do it and tell them, like, point out things, but I wouldn't help them. I would just be the enforcer person. You missed this, you got to get that. So they spend like all day trying to clean up the kitchen.
Nice. Nice.
That would work on me.
I believe that. It's so funny. Yes. So when they get to childhood 10 to 13 is where I've seen a lot of conflict resolution need to take place. Children have a lot more of their own autonomy at these ages. They are entering adolescence. And I would say give respect. So you respect your children and expect respect. You expect them to respect you. And so if they say something that is disrespectful, say that is disrespectful. Now you need to say something respectful to me. You owe me a respect statement. Train them in responsibilities. That to me means hand over responsibilities to your children. So in these ages, my children began cleaning the living room as well as their room. So then the living room area became their space to clean. And then the next year was the living room and the kitchen became their areas to clean. So they were responsible for their room, the living room, and the kitchen. Now, these are all common areas in the house that they would be assisting in all of the dirtying of. So also assisting in the cleanup is fair. It is not like my bedroom, but if they, broke a consequence and they didn't do something, then yes, they would have to go do something extra. They may have to cut grass, that's extra. They may have to chop wood. They may have to do anything. I have some weird tasks for my children to do, but the Holy Spirit is very inspiring. Here I find that my kids had they would have days when they would be like best friends and they would play all the time, day and night together. And then the next day it'll be bicker, 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 bicker. I am not a fan of infighting of children. It really annoys me. And so my solution is that they should spend more time together. Like I said, most of my punishments are you have to do more stuff. So if you can't get along, I had this together shirt, which is like a triple X large shirt, and I would put two of them in it, and then they'd have to do everything in the shirt together. So they have to do their chores like that. They'd have to read books like that. They would have to eat dinner like that. And so they never got away from the other person that they were fighting with. And eventually they would stop. So I'm like, it's fine. You guys seem like you're doing a great job. But you may have conflict resolution to look forward to in childhood, 10 to 13 years of age. Trust me, conflict resolution is something you get to be an expert in once your child is born. You have to do that with your spouse too. But once they are teenage years, I would say you should check in every day on your teenager. Just how are they feeling? How are they doing? Even if they're giving you one-word answers, just make the effort. Conflict resolution will still be on the table, especially if they have brothers or sisters that are near the same age as them. If they're close in age, you will see a lot more infighting, a lot more sibling rivalry. If they're farther apart in age, you don't see that much because they kind of have their own separate lives. So if the age difference is like 5 years or more, they really don't interact with each other very much. Now, for every family, that can be different, but for most people, the age gap makes that a lot less. Hand off responsibilities. So again, I would say in those teenage years that they should be making their own doctor's appointments, that they should make their hair appointments, that they should just give you, you want updates, you want to know what they're doing, you want to stay involved in their lives, but they should be taking more and greater responsibility for the things in their lives. And I would definitely say expect tantrums. Yes, they're teenagers. They're not infants. They're not toddlers. They have tantrums. They have emotions and hormones that they do not understand. They don't know what's going on. And so their tantrums will look much different from a 3-year-old's, but they're still tantrums. And you should expect them, prepare for them, and know how you're going to react when one occurs. So just prep. And then your children are your children forever. So adulthood, I say just listen to them and respect their choices. I think adulthood is really easy, even though it may feel like gut-wrenching. Oh, my child is choosing to do this thing that I don't want them to do, or making a choice that I don't want them to make. Listen to them, respect their choices. I would just keep doing that. Pray for them, engage with them, all of those things, but just respect who they are and what they are doing.
I was just gonna add a note to something I noticed, like especially the 10 to 13 age, that's the age that I taught for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And all these things that you're talking about, like building responsibilities, and that the kids, it's not like how much allowance am I earning or anything else. Like, you belong to this family, you're a part of this family, you work in this family and all of that. And guaranteed, without even asking, I could pick out the students who had expectations and boundaries in their home. And it was in their attitudes, it was in how they got things done, it was in their conflict resolution, it was in their relationships. You saw it across the board. And you could also tell the kids that got paid for everything, just for being alive, never had like a chore to do, never, any of that kind of stuff. And it's amazing how all of this stuff, it's really so basic.
Yeah.
And yet you are helping your child become a productive and kind member of society by having expectations and disciplining and all of it.
Exactly. I have had moms tell me, how can you give your child a chore? And I'm like, because I love them. And because they won't be children forever. I've had moms tell me, I could never let my child use my washing machine. You let them use your washing machine? That's I feel like, I don't want to say it's idol worship, but I feel like it's gotta be, because it's just a washing machine that washes dirty clothes. So I just really want my kids to wash their dirty clothes, and the machine that is in my house is what I want them to use. So there you go. Yeah, I let them wash their clothes, and my kids have, yeah, they've been washing their clothes since they're like 4. So it's really nice to not have to do things for all these extra people in my house. I really, yeah, I think that was one. So I am really, really big on independence. I love independence. And so when I met my husband, that was the very first thing that he told me. Not the very first thing, but like maybe on our 5th date, he asked me to iron something for him. And I was like, you, what? Iron? Why? Do you just want me to iron? Like, is this I need my woman to do chores thing, or do you not know how to iron? And he was like, well, I don't know how to use the iron. My mom always ironed my clothes. No, bro. I'm sorry, it doesn't work for me. You are getting an ironing lesson today. That's what I went to his house to do, teach him how to iron. And he has been ironing his clothes ever since.
I just wanted to say something about having small kids do chores. So like Sophia right now she does laundry with me. I just let her do it with me. And so she helps me put the clothes into the washing machine. And then the part she gets really excited about is dropping in the little pods and then pressing the button to start the washing machine. But she does the whole process. And then usually I let her help me. I will lift the clothes out of the washer, put them onto the dryer door, and she will push them in. And we haven't talked about a lint trap yet. That'll come later. But then we also fold clothes together. So she's right there with me. And initially I just had her put up her folded clothes and she would put them in. And then I would give her clothes and she would do whatever to fold them, which she's not folding great at this point. It's okay. It's totally okay. And now the clothes are just like on the bed and she goes through and she pulls out her stuff and she folds it up, and she makes a pile. There's some things I still fold for her. Sometimes I go into her drawer and I fix it up, but just letting her know that like her clothes are her responsibility, I think is a really helpful way to teach that to her now. And I'm here to like help her. She knows where everything goes. She rarely misplaces things, honestly. So it really, and right now I'm trying to capitalize on her energy to help, because she can't wash dishes yet, but when she's near, if anyone is willing to let her wash dishes with him, then I encourage that. Or if she's near the sink and she's like, a lot of times she'll be in the kitchen while I'm cooking and she'll say, oh, I'm going to wash the dishes. And she like starts running the water and sometimes she gets a towel or a sponge and she like cleans off the dishes. Sometimes she actually does a decent job. Not enough for me to trust her with dishes yet, but it's a good way for her to like play, know that this is something that she can do, and like eventually she sees the benefit of living with LaWanda. She sees the other kids doing chores all the time, so she knows that that's something that is coming, and she is responsible for her playroom which is a fascinating battle sometimes. I just don't know how she doesn't know that, all right, put your toys away. No, that can't go in the wrong place. It has to go, it has a place to live. She should know that's coming, but that's okay. She's 3. She's getting there. We're reinforcing.
Yes. And that's what I mean by smallest pieces. So letting them put clothes in the washing machine is a super small piece of the process of washing clothes. Letting your child help set the table is a super small piece of you are, responsible for a kitchen. Like that's a tiny piece. Taking your dishes and putting them in the sink is a tiny piece of keeping the house clean. Like that's super tiny, but it's very important to like start at that little thing and then build upon that consistently as they grow and get older and are able to handle more or do more. Because like I said, my kids didn't start washing clothes at 4. They started helping. They didn't start washing dishes at 4. They started helping. Like, so when you put those little pieces in there and you build upon those tiny pieces, eventually, and sooner than you think, you'll get to a whole, hey, I can wash my own clothes now. Like, get to a whole hallelujah. So, talking about spiritual development, we would go quickly through prayer, worship, read the Bible. All of those things are very good and key to developing your child's loving God. I would just say consistency is key, key, key. Do it as much as possible. I'm not going to say do it every day or do it twice a day or whatever, but you should have your own time, your own spiritual time, where you're engaging with God and they can just see you doing that. And then you should have moments where you're engaging with them and leading them in prayer, leading them in worship. So many teenagers report like they don't know how to pray. And that's because they never said a prayer. Like they want to talk to God, but they don't know how. But if they've been talking to him from infancy, from babyhood, my mom would have us like put our little hands together like this, and then she would just pray the Our Father prayer, or we would pray the Our Father prayer together. And I remember that, like I remember praying that on the side of her bed, kneeling on a little step stool and praying to God. Just that consistency is key, to do it as often as you can. But again, it is unnecessary to force yourself to do something. My kids and we read the Bible, I would say mostly every day, but there are weeks where we don't open the Bible once. But when I say, hey guys, let's read the Bible, like, oh, we're reading the Bible today? Yes, because it's been consistent in their lives from birth. And I would say we've probably gone up to 2 months without reading the Bible, just being busy, traveling, moving, all of that stuff. And then when we get back into it, they're always like, oh, we're reading the Bible today? Okay, yes. And so it's just because we consistently do it. They expect it. The questions I would say are just let your kids ask as many questions as they want. And don't try to have all the answers. Having all the answers is not helpful, honestly, when it comes to spiritual development. Saying I don't know is a valid answer for so many questions about God. I don't know how that works. I don't know. We can read the Bible together and find out. We can ask a spiritual leader, or we can pray, and maybe God will reveal it to us. Maybe he won't. Maybe, I don't know if God lives in trash, but maybe he does. That was a question. So, that was literally a question. I'm telling you that. So you can, for homework, because we'll meet next week, you can work on your mission statements, write some affirming statements, and then think through the stages that your children are in now, and what tiny thing can you be teaching them today that will set them up for success tomorrow. And then begin to think about what responsibilities that you can hand over, or you would want to hand over when they are older, and what a plan would look like to teaching them in incremental steps. So for the next class, we will talk about reading, finances, and life skills. Life skills. I love life.
Can you go back to my homework?
Oh, let me see if I can tell you how to go back. If I can figure out how to go back.
Can you send me your presentation also? And then if anyone wants it, I can send it to you, but I like to keep it for myself.
There you go. Oh, it went back too far.
Thank you.
Sure, Jennifer, sure.
Okay.
But any questions or comments, or that's not real?
I got a lot of questions, but I'll wait till. But my comment would be, man, when you recommended Love and Logic, my husband and I started listening to it, and literally from the next day, because we started listening to it in the evening, it was just like our house is different.
Yes.
It was because I was different and my thinking was different, and so just yes, that's all I can say.
And one of the things I love the most about them is that they're like, it doesn't require a reaction. You can just say, I don't like that, or it's not agreeable. That's your opinion.
That sounds like your mother statement. That's your opinion.
Oh yeah, my mom would say that all the time.
Yeah, I think one of my the biggest things that I took away from Love and Logic was looking at times when they don't do the thing that you want as opportunities. And as LaWanda mentioned earlier, just like Love and Logic, they say you want them to fail a lot and to fail big when they are young, because it's never going to compare to what it would be when they are older. And so each one of those is an opportunity to correct and to build in the behavior that you want, and to let them know that their actions have consequences. It puts those major pieces in order. Not that I always look forward to whatever fun things Sophia or the other children do, but it really redirects your response, which is helpful.
It was even helpful in just from a biblical perspective on oh yeah, this is how God treats us. I haven't sought to really, or stopped to really think about, how does God react to when I'm rebellious? Oh, I guess he doesn't stop and yell in my face, or something like that. He doesn't. He's slow to anger. So why am I reacting? It was just so eye-opening for me, myself, my own parenting style, in ways that I needed to change, based not because some person is telling me in their book how I need to change, but how I see in God's word that he is treating his children. So, that's why I need to change these certain reactions that I'm having. So
thinking of Adam in the garden and God's response to them, hey, where are you?
Right.
That's such a good, just reminder, oh, I don't need to yell and thunder or whatever, grab you up, snatch you up.
I think that's one of the greatest things to do when you catch them in the middle of something, is just simply ask, what are you doing? And wait for the answer.
That's a good way to contain yourself.
It really is. I always give my children the opportunity to lie. So my youngest son, he got on a tablet when he wasn't supposed to. So they're not supposed to be on tablets until 5 p.m. until after 5 p.m. So between 5 and 8, they have free time. They can do whatever they want. And so they're not supposed to play any games at all until after 5. And he was on his tablet at 2 o'clock. And he should have been outside or doing anything else. And I saw him, I could see him, and we have this huge overstuffed chair, and he had it all turned around, and his body was down like this. And I'm like, Anaya, what are you doing? Nothing. I go, you're doing something. What are you doing? I'm checking the time. Are you? Bring me your Kindle and don't touch it. Just bring it to me. And he brings it to me, and I open it, and it's on a game. I'm like, so you were on a game. So now you don't have any games for the rest of the week. that was your choice. And also, you know, for lying, that is your punishment. You can have a good day. Today, my kids go, "Did you hide his tablet?" And I was like, "No, it's right here." And they're like, "Well, aren't you going to put it up?" And I was like, "No, because I should be able to trust my children, that what I say goes. And if he gets on the Kindle, then he'll just have a bigger punishment. That's life. I don't want you to play on the Kindle ever. So please, by all means, take it away." I have zero problems with taking that device away for months and months at a time. So I love that, like, I'm giving you opportunities to make the right choice, or to learn from a choice. I love it.
And that you've chosen the, like, it's not that I'm just handing out punishments, but this is what you've chosen based on your action.
Yeah. I think that's
I'm gonna mention too, like the beginning stages of like building the responsibilities and teaching the chores. It's exhausting.
Oh, definitely, Christy. Definitely. It's not fun to watch a 3-year-old pick up rice.
Oh my gosh. So the other day I was sweeping up the leaves on the deck and I was trying to do it as quickly as possible because all 3 were outside and I knew they were going to think it looked like fun and I just really wanted the job done. And I didn't get it done before Jojo noticed, and he came over to take the broom, and then Michael took the dustpan, and then Caitlin came over and was heartbroken because there were no more tools to use. So she found a shovel.
Oh, fun.
And what was going to take me like 5 more minutes to finish then took like 20 minutes, one spilling of the entire garbage can of leaves.
There's a video.
Like, you know that is the right thing to do, and yet,
Right.
So exhausting.
Oh my gosh, my kids, I bought them 3 rakes just so they could all rake at the same time in the backyard. I was just like, I don't even care. I'm buying 3.
That's a really good idea. I need 3 kid-sized brooms because they are fighting over the brooms all the time, or the broom all the time.
I think that's such a good reminder, though, Christy, that you even took the time to spend another 20 minutes doing that. Because I think there's a real temptation to be like, don't touch anything. I'm going to finish this really fast. But that's us taking learning opportunities away from our kids. Because like for me, I'm not the best with time. And so I would want to like rush the whole family out of the house and then realizing I'm taking opportunities for Chino to learn how to put on his own shoes because I always have to do it for him because I am not willing to, we're running late in order for us to get on time. We have to leave now. So just having to slow myself down and say, look, give extra 15 minutes or he's not going to learn how to put on his shoes because I'm always rushing us and I have to put it on. That just reminded me like, okay, what am I rushing through right now that is taking away learning opportunities from him? So thank you, Christy.
Well, and one thing I would add to that, Jen, too, is to not leave like tonight and go, oh man, I have to give everything an opportunity. Like pick the things that are most important, like right now or for the next couple weeks or whatever else, because everything needs to be taught. And then you just get frustrated because your day is taking 5,000 hours for him to put his shoes on every time you go out or whatever else it is. So it's hard to pick and choose and remember, but even LaWanda, you remind me with that, like setting goals. I need to get back to what goal do I have for each child for this week or for this stage or what is it?
Yeah, because that's my mission statement is like my far-reaching goal, but
Yeah.
I set goals for my kids like every year. And then sometimes if there's something that I really want them to do quickly, like learn a math skill, because I homeschool, then that is a goal I set that's a monthly goal. I want you to learn this specific thing within the month. Sometimes that specific thing is like my youngest really needed to learn how to wash dishes better. And that is always, I want to be upset with him because it's like, how do you not know how to wash dishes? You're almost 10 years old. But I am his teacher, so obviously that's on me to teach him how to do better. So how much time is it going to take me to like teach him the right way to wash dishes or the right things to like clean up in the kitchen? I may need a month to do that. I may need 2 months to do that because I'm not going to do it every day. That's a very big stressor, trying to make yourself do something legalistically, which is also why I say give yourself grace for reading the Bible, doing praise and worship, like all of those things. While yes, they are good and they are great and they are beneficial and they are like so wonderful to our souls, having peace, having joy, having love, having fun, those are more important because God's going to use those things to teach your children about him, to show himself to them, like that. It's really important to do those things before all the other chore things are listed or checking off the box. It's important to just love them first. And so that's what I would say. Like, I read a book that said if you didn't take your kids to church every Sunday, they were basically going to hell. And I was like, chunk, throw this book away. I cannot do that to myself. God definitely freed me from tons of legalism when I became a parent, and I don't want to pick that back up again for anyone. So I will never tell a person that you have to do anything all of the time. You are human. Take breaks.
This was awesome. I'm thankful because I think there's a little fear for a person like me that's like, okay, how to get your child where you want them to be. And that sounds like, well, I want my child to be a doctor. I want them to do this and this, that, and that. So you give me the skills so that I can make sure my child has the dream of success that I have for them. But really, that's not what we're talking about whatsoever right now. They're like spiritual character kind of trajectories that we're trying to place our children on, knowing that ultimately God has a calling for them. And we want to teach them to walk in that. And that part of it is the spiritual and character development. So God wants everyone to be kind. He wants everyone to be this, that, and the other. But the specific career or whatever it is really just shouldn't be because we're telling our children something. So I think that even just that, the fact that that was not part of this at all is just very freeing to know this is what we're working towards. That is up to God. Because like you said in the beginning, I control some things, but I don't control everything. God is the one who is sovereign and not me. He's the one who has created you in certain ways to do certain things that he wants you to do. I'm just kind of helping to push you in the right direction, whatever that might be according to him. So just, you're amazing. Thank you.
Just
like,
think of how much freeing it would be. Like, I don't know how many of your parents like raised you that way to like just support you. But I think that is just so freeing for a child, that their parents learn who they are instead of trying to mold them into the person that they want them to be. And so I don't know. That's how I've always wanted to live my life, is just giving them the space to be who God created them to be. And so I love that you said that, Jennifer, because it makes me happy.